right now, it's showtime.
Hi guys, welcome to HOB TV. This is episode 3. We're really excited for tonight's episode. We got a lot of good stuff on the show. Before we get started, we want to give a shout out to JJ Robles, one of our followers that commented, and for all the new subscribers that have subscribed to our channel. We just want to thank you guys and for staying connected with us. And before we get started with our show too, we want to pay homage and pay our respects to one of the great Mexican legend boxers, Salvador Sanchez. It would have been his 60th birthday this week, so we definitely want to pay our respects to him, one of the greats.
Yeah, happy birthday to Chava, the man they called Chava, the man they called the Iron Lung for his stamina and legendary conditioning skills. My opinion, the number one Mexican fighter of all time. He's number one. Chavez is 1A. You could have it vice versa.
Yeah.
It's up for debate.
Tough.
Sanchez defeated 3 legit future Hall of Famers by the age he was 23. Would have fought Alexis Arguello had he lived, and it would have been an explosive fight. So we're paying homage to him. The theme of the show, Mexican Warriors. Sanchez is starting it off. We're going to get into last week's fight. So this past weekend, we saw everything that you could ask for in fights.
It was a great weekend for boxing fans, right?
Yeah, I mean, despite all the bad things of boxing, all the negative things, we were reminded last week of why we keep tuning in. You know, we saw 2 huge underdogs exceed expectations,
Exactly.
but we saw 4 fighters who, at various points of the fight, had to battle adversity and dig in to fight their way to a decision. So hats off to those 4 fighters. David, how did you like that Thurman Lopez fight?
I thought it was a great fight, man. I mean, Lopez definitely showed me more, and he definitely showed that he has a lot left in his tank, and he earned himself another payday, man. I mean, and for Thurman, it was definitely a comeback fight. I mean, he said it himself. This year is the year of the comeback for him. He's definitely. I don't think he's ready for any big names yet. But, I mean, he did what he had to do to win, man. I mean, he couldn't knock him out early. Josecito's a tough guy. He's a warrior. He couldn't knock him out early, so Thurman ended up boxing him, using the ring a little bit, using his jab. And surprisingly, Josecito almost dropped him a couple times, man. He rocked him a couple times.
Almost had to stop.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Thurman definitely showed heart. It definitely showed that he was a warrior as well. And we got treated to a great fight, man. I mean, It was a great fight. It was a great fight weekend, man. I was just so excited after. I fell asleep good that night, right, with some great fights. But again, I think Thurman is definitely not ready for the big names, but he might. I mean, names that come into my mind are Andre Berto, Luis Colazo, those type of fighters, man. I'm pretty sure he's not ready for any Earl Spence yet.
No.
I don't think he's ready for a Sean Porter rematch right now.
Is he ready for a Manny Pacquiao fight?
Ooh, that's a really good question. But you know what? I honestly, personally, I think it'll be a great fight right now. I think it'll be a smart move for Pacquiao to jump on that. Because I think with Pacquiao's stamina, to be able to go the full 12 rounds, put in the pressure that he does, I think it'll be tough for Thurman. It'll make it tough.
I definitely agree. Both men warranted some big fights in the future. Josecito Lopez showed his signature heart. He shows in every fight. Hats off to him. Almost had to stop in the 7th round. Keith Thurman, I agree with you. I don't think he's ready for the big dogs of 147. Looked a bit vulnerable, yet he was off 2 years.
Yeah, let's give him that.
Yeah.
He was off.
Yeah. I think the clamor for Pacquiao Thurman is there. I'm not sure if he wants it, though, at this time.
Yeah, me either. Like you said, man, I don't think he's ready for the big names yet.
No, not yet.
I mean, like I said, another name that I kind of threw in there that I was thinking is Devin Alexander, too. Why not throw him in there,
Now, you're digging in the crates now for names.
Well, I mean, those are 3 good opponents. I mean, they're solid guys, and he, like he said, this year is definitely a comeback year for him. He was out for 2 years.
Definitely.
He had an elbow injury. I mean, the conditioning wasn't there. He went to 12 rounds, though, but it wasn't the same Thurman we're used to seeing. But Hey, it was a great fight. It was a great fight, and hats off to Josecito Lopez. Definitely showed he's the warrior like he is.
Thurman, he handpicked Lopez. We mentioned it last
Yeah.
week. It almost came back to bite him in the butt there. I predicted it would go 12. I figured Thurman would want to get the work in, and
Yeah.
boy, did he. Now, let's go into the second fight of the night. Jaime Munguia, okay? Now, after the fight, Fernando Beltran from Zanfer, he said Munguia reminded him of Eric Morales. After that fight, he reminds me of another TJ fighter by the name of Antonio Margarito, whose offense was his defense, but defense was non-existent.
That's true, man. And I mean, again, just like Thurman handpicked Josecito, Inoue was definitely handpicked for Munguia. It was definitely a time for him to show that he wasn't just an ordinary fighter, to put him up there with some of the elites.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, it was a great fight. And Inoue, like we said before, those Japanese fighters are tough, man, tough as nails. So he definitely showed a lot of heart. But again, Munguia has something that you can't teach, man, and that's he has heart and he has huevos, man. He has heart and he has balls to throw punches even when he doesn't have gas, and he's an exciting fighter. So I mean, he's definitely someone to see and someone to watch.
I mean, well, let's talk about some of the holes in his game against Inoue that Inoue exposed. He was unable to close the gap. He let the smaller guy bully him around and dictate the pace at certain times of the fight. Pushed him in the ropes, made a battle out of it, just made an ugly fight. He was susceptible to the big overhand right, didn't really have an answer for it.
As you mentioned last week.
Yeah, a lot of holes in his game. I'm not sure how much of the blame goes to Robert Alcazar, his trainer.
Yeah, and because I mean, he's already. I mean, how old is he now? He's 22, 23 years old, and it's hard. I mean, once you get older, it's hard to just switch up a game plan. Switch up your style, switch up your technique or whatnot. I mean, the coach can just add little things. Get him ready for the fight. Yeah. I mean,
and to his credit, I mean, Robert Alcazar, he's had him less than a year, and he's had some good things with him. Yeah. So he's had him for 4 fights, okay? He came to him as a very raw talent. So, I'd say give him 2-3 more fights before, you maybe switch to somebody else. But Jaime Munguia, it seems that, he fights down to the level of his opposition, doesn't fight as a bigger man. He doesn't use his size as an advantage. The jab is non-existent at all. Yeah. But let's not get down on the guy. He did throw a lot of great body punches. He slowed Inoue down that way.
But it's just in my opinion of Jaime, con todo respeto, how Chavez says it. Look at dude, when he throws his punches, man, his hands are down. He's real vulnerable with the counter. Yeah. And to be honest, he doesn't know how to work inside. And I think, like you said, Inoue kind of exposed him there, He kind of just curls up and he tries to throw and he gets frustrated. I mean, in my opinion, man, it's a lost art, understanding, knowing how to work inside, And I mean, Munguia definitely needs some work, but he is an exciting guy to watch, and I would definitely see him again.
He has to establish that jab to keep these smaller fighters, pressure fighters away. He's got to use his size. Now, on the heels of his exciting 12-round decision, he's already going to return April 15th.
Yeah, they already got a venue out in
Monterrey, Mexico. He's doing a voluntary defense of his title.
Yeah.
And then he's going to Hogan. So his next 2 fights, no big names, but I think that's great matchmaking on Golden Boys.
Yeah, and they're definitely building him up. They're taking it slow with him, which is what he needs to improve his skills, right?
Yeah, give him some time to work on his game. I think we both agree he's not ready for the top names at 54 or 60.
Yeah.
He's a work in progress, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked Salvador Sanchez, we talked Jaime Munguia, 2 Mexican warriors. David and I were going to reveal our top 5 active Mexican or Mexican-American fighters
5
fighting at this time. So let's pull our list.
Pull our list out.
Number 5. Let me start it off. Number 5, I got my paisano from Nogales, Sonora, puro Nogales. Oscar Valdez, a shout out to him. He was training down here in San Diego,
Yeah.
getting ready for his fight Saturday. Number 4, I got Miguel Berchel. He's on a 14-game win streak. He has a fight against Francisco Vargas coming up in March, a rematch. Leo Santa Cruz is number 3 for me. He has a fight coming up as well. Number 2 is Mikey Garcia, big fight versus Earl Spence.
Yeah, real
If
big
if
fight.
he wins, he could maybe leapfrog his way
Yeah,
to
yeah.
number 1 spot. And of course, number 1 is the face of boxing, other known as Canelo.
So yeah, my 5, I got Francisco Gaito Estrada. Number 4, we got Oscar Valdez. Number 3, Miguel Berchelt. Number 2, Mikey Garcia. And number 1, none other than Saul Canelo Alvarez. Me and Steve pretty much almost have it the same. The only difference that we got here is I put Francisco Estrada, and he seemed to put Leo Santa Cruz. But, I mean, they're all great fighters, man. They're all great warriors. And there's no doubt that we know that Mike Garcia is number 2 and Saul Alvarez number 1.
Yeah, we had that
both can
right.
agree.
We-
Yeah.
We shared minds on that one.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a guy that was on both of our lists.
Exactly.
You know, as we mentioned,
Yep.
trained here in San Diego for
Yep.
his training camp. A new trainer, Eddie Reynoso, Oscar Valdez.
Yeah, this Saturday. It's going to be a great fight, man. A great come-out fight for him with his new trainer. It's definitely a test fight with his new trainer. You can tell that this opponent was definitely handpicked. It's a guy from Italy. All his fights are in Italy. So this is his first
Carmine.
fight in the United States. So it's definitely a time for Oscar Valdez to show what he can do with his new trainer, and hopefully show some defense, which is a lot of people are asking where he needs improvement in.
Yeah. I mean, he's Mexico's premier action star. If you like action, he's your guy. You know, last week during the Munguia telecast, the announcers kept referring to Munguia as the future of boxing. Well, I believe that the future is now, and that future is Oscar Valdez. He's ready for the big fights. Say he gets past Carmine Saturday, Frampton, Top Rank, is interested in making Valdez versus Frampton later this year.
Yeah.
Now, he's coming off 3 hellacious battles.
Yeah.
Oscar Valdez with Mariaga, Cervania, and Scott Quigg.
Yeah.
Now, in his last fight versus Scott Quigg, suffered a broken jaw in that fight.
Oh man.
You
And
know.
even I think he broke his tooth, right? Broke his tooth. No tooth.
Broke a couple teeth.
Yeah.
And this picture is right here. This is all you need to know
Shows it all.
about Oscar Valdez's last fight. Being loaded up onto an ambulance, a couple teeth missing there.
Yeah.
Throwing up the West Coast, big
There we
smile on his
go.
face after a 12-round
True.
unanimous decision.
True warrior there.
True warrior. He made both of our list.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about his sparring. You know, he sparred here in San Diego. Who did he spar
Yeah.
with?
I know he sparred with a local professional boxer, Brandon Cruz. He was also sparring with someone over the border named Alejandro Santiago at Tijuana.
Barrios?
No, Santiago.
Santiago.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was definitely good sparring. My father was fortunate enough to be out there and helping out with the camp. He's definitely ready, man. He's definitely ready. I mean, he works hard every time, so we're just got to see Saturday on the improvements.
Yeah, you know, making the 5th defense of the WBO title. And, you know, we both expect him to win by stoppage, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Now, let's talk about the other fights Saturday night. A big card in Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
Frisco, Texas. What do we got? We got Kovalev versus Alvarez. How do you see that fight playing out?
I think it's playing out the same way as the first one. I mean, there's so much things coming into play up to this fight. They had that whole charge with Kovalev, supposedly domestic violence. I don't know what. That's causing some issues there. And Kovalev has had some issues in the past, some mental issues where he kind of gives up or he kind of quits, in the middle of a fight, kind of. And I think it's going to play out the same way. I think his time is up, and I think Alvarez is just gonna pull out the win.
Yeah, he's had many distractions, Kovalev, and I don't think he's really gotten past the first Ward fight. I think it's in his head.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the most exciting fight, it could steal the show Saturday night, is Teofimo Lopez versus Diego Magdaleno. I think that's going to be an
Yeah.
explosive fight.
Yeah, that's going to be a great fight, man. Teofimo's definitely an exciting fighter. He goes there to put on a show, and he goes for the knockout, which is what people want to see. And Diego Magdaleno, man, brings in a different aspect. He's a lefty. He's kind of awkward. He's gonna try to show some movement, some angles. So it'll definitely be an interesting fight. But I think at the end of the day, I think Teofimo definitely has power in both hands, and I think with those power, he'll end up catching him.
Definitely a step-up fight for Lopez. We're going to see what he's made of. So just to reiterate the theme of the show, Mexican Warriors, Salvador Sanchez, Munguia, Oscar Valdez. Let's do a little math equation on what makes a Mexican Warrior. Jason, if you could get a shot here. So what makes a Mexican Warrior, okay? Broken jaw, ambulance, blood everywhere, cojones, plus 915 punches thrown in his last fight. Ladies and gentlemen, this makes a Mexican Warrior right here.
Exactly. There you have it, folks. Make sure you tune in to our next episode. We got another great episode
Back to
coming
back.
out. Back-to-back episodes tonight. So make sure you stay tuned in. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our HOB TV channel. Thank you guys again.
Hey, thanks, guys.